Today in this episode, I'd like to share with you about church music. Church music is Christian music written for performance in Christian or any musical setting of ecclesiastical liturgy or music set to rewards expressing propositions of a sacred nature such as a hymn. So, when we talk about Christian music and its history, we find that the only record of communal song in the Gospels is the last meeting of the disciples before the crucifixion outside the Gospels. There is a reference to St. Paul encouraging the Ephesians and Colossians to use psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. Later, there is a reference in Pliny the Younger, who writes to the Emperor Trajan around 53 to 117 AD, asking for advice about how to persecute the Christians in Bithynia and describing their practice of gathering before sunrise and repeating antiphonally a hymn to Christ as to God. Antiphonal psalmody is the singing or musical playing of psalms by alternating groups of performers. The peculiar mirror structure of the Hebrew psalms makes it likely that the antiphonal method originated in the services of the ancient Israelites. According to the historian Socrates of Constantinople, its introduction into Christian worship was due to Ignatius of Antioch, who died in 107 AD, who in a vision had seen the angels singing in alternate choirs. Dear friend, during the first 2 or 3 centuries, Christian communities incorporated into their observances features of Greek music and the music of other cultures bordering on the eastern Mediterranean Sea. As the early church spread from Jerusalem to Asia Minor, North Africa and Europe, it absorbed other musical influences. For example, the monasteries and churches of Syria were important in the development of psalm singing and the use of strophic devotional songs or hymns. The use of instruments in early Christian music seems to have been frowned upon. In the late 4th or early 5th century, Saint Jerome, who wrote that a Christian maiden ought to not even to know what a lyre or flute is like, or to what use it is put. Evidence of musical roles during the 6th through 7th century is particularly sparse because of the cycle of invasion of Germanic tribes in the west and doctrinal and political conflict in the east, as well as the consequent instability of Christian institutions in the former Roman Empire. The introduction of church organ music is traditionally believed to date from the time of the papacy of Pope Vitalian in the 7th century. Now let me share more about early Christian music, where I will be explaining you about Gregorian chant. Gregorian chant is the main tradition of Western plain chant, a form of monophonic liturgical chant of Western Christianity that accompanied the celebration of Mass and other ritual services. This musical form originated in monastic life, in which singing the divine service 9 times a day at the proper hour was upheld according to the rule of Saint Benedict. Singing psalms made up a large part of life in a monastic community, while a smaller group and soloists sang the chant. In its long history, Gregorian chant had been subjected to many gradual changes and some reforms. It was organized, codified and noted mainly in the Frankish lands of Western and Central Europe during the 12th and 13th centuries, with later addition and redactions, but the texts and many of melodies have antecedent going back several centuries earlier. Although a 9th century legend credits Pope Gregory the Great with having personally invited Gregorian chant by receiving the chant melodies through divine intervention of the Holy Spirit. Scholars now believe that the chant bearing his name arose from a later Carolingian synthesis of Roman and Gallican chant. During the following centuries, the chant tradition was still at the heart of the church music, where it changed and acquired various assertions. Even the polyphonic music that arose from the venerable old chants in the Origena by Léonin and Perotin in Paris, that is in 1160 to 1240 AD, ended in monophonic chant, and in later traditions new composition styles were practiced in juxtaposition or cohabitation with monophonic chant. This practice continued into the lifetime of Francois Couperin, whose organ masses were meant to be performed with alternating homophonic chant, although it had mostly fallen into disuse after the Baroque period. Chant experienced a revival in the 19th century in the Catholic Church and the Anglo-Catholic wing of the Anglican Communion. Dear friend, I have just shared with you about Christian music's history, early Christian music and Gregorian chant.